Good afternoon to everybody. It's Parsha Yitro, and the first part of Parsha Yitro, the first couple of psukim, they seem very straightforward, but actually they're very loaded with pathos and with emotion. Let's start off with the difficulty, first of all, the technical difficulty in the psukim, and then afterwards to speak about the difficult message, if there is, in the rest of the psukim. The first technical difficulty is as follows. It says in the Torah that Yitro heard the Choten Moshe, the father-in-law of Moshe, everything that Hashem had done to Moshe and to Israel, that he took the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim. And now it says, V'kach Yitro Choten Moshe Tzipora Eshet Moshecha Shilochea. Yitro brought along with him Tzipora, Moshe's wife, who had been sent away beforehand, and together with her, Shnei Banea, her two sons. The one was called Gershon, and here the Torah adds, why was he called Gershon? Because Moshe said, Ki Ger, called him Gershon, Ki Amar Gera Yiti Beretz Nechria. Moshe referred to his son as Gershon because Moshe was a stranger in a foreign place. In other words, he was born in Egypt, but he landed up fleeing to Midian. And Shem Achad, the second son of Moshe, was Eliezer. And here again, the Torah repeats, why was he called Eliezer? Moshe called him that because he said, my father's God was my helper, and he rescued me from the Pharaoh's sword. So the question is that why is the Torah repeating over here the reason that Moshe's children were given that name? That was already mentioned in the Parsha beforehand. Why is it repeating it in this context over here when Yitro is bringing them to meet their father once again? Some people say, I think it's the Abba Mikra, he says a very interesting shot, that Yitro, who's coming now, according to most authorities, he's coming now to convert to Judaism, and he's pleading with Moshe Rabbeinu to accept him compassionately. And he's saying to him, look, you called your two children names which have to do with people being foreigners. You called your firstborn Gershom because you said, I'm a foreigner in a foreign land. In other words, that you had fled from Egypt and you had come to Midian. And your second son, Eliezer, again, what you did was, in his name is a hint at a certain event that happened, that you were in Egypt and you were under threat, and then Hashem helped you escape from the sword of Paro. So the same thing, just like you are in fact a Gael, you in fact are also a stranger. You know what it is to be a stranger. So now when I'm coming now to convert as a stranger into the Jewish people, so help that the conversion should be with compassion and with a sense of love. That's why in this context, the Torah speaks about the reason for Moshe Rabbeinu giving the reason that why Moshe Rabbeinu gave his children those particular names. Okay, so that's the very first part, which has got a message about Geirut. It's not just like a one-sided affair. The word we're saying, of course, Yitro is pleading with Moshe that he knows what it means to be a Ger, but Yitro himself, the tremendous effort in Geirut. In fact, his name, what is the name Yitro, comes from the word tar. The word tar means to scout, to explore. Remember that in Parshat Shlach Lecha, when Moshe sends the Meragli to Eretz Israel, so he says, let them scout the land, that they explore the land. So Yitro is given that name because he was a person who, in his personality, he was an explorer. He was a person who, as Chazal told us, explored and analyzed and sought out every single system and philosophy that there was, until he came to the conclusion that he has to convert. So what I'm trying to emphasize is, on the one hand, yes, he makes this hint to Moshe to accept him compassionately, because he knows what it means to be a ger. But it's not just a one-sided affair, but Yitro himself had made tremendous strides and efforts in order to recognize the true emet of Judaism and Am Yisrael's Torah. Now we come to the second part of the question on these first three very mild, so to speak, psukim, which speaks about Yitro coming to meet Moshe in the desert with his wife and with his two children. Now, first of all, what's the background? The background is that in Parshat Shmot, Moshe Rabbeinu gets a command, he gets a mission to go to Mitzrayim and to take the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim. So, as we all know, he takes his family, he takes his Tzipporah, he takes his children, and he goes down to Mitzrayim. And then we actually never hear of them again, besides an allusion over here in Parshat Yitro. And what happened? So the Midrashim, Rashi, others, what they do is they fill in the gaps, and they say that when Aaron met Moshe coming down to Mitzrayim with his families, he said to Moshe, look, what are you doing? We're trying to now bring the Jewish people, right, the entire Jewish people, from the suffering of Mitzrayim and to bring them out to freedom and to Matan Torah. So what are you doing, bringing now your family, who until now is into the safety of Midian, and what you're doing is you're bringing them to Mitzrayim. We're trying to get them out of suffering. What are you bringing them into suffering? So what we did was that what happened was Moshe Rabbeinu accepted his brother's argument, and what he did was he left Tzipporah and his children went back to Midian, and now only after, according to one opinion, only after Matan Torah did Yitro come and reunite the family with Moshe Rabbeinu. First of all, the Meshech Chochmah explains that what was Moshe Rabbeinu thinking? I mean, when he thought that he's going to bring his family into the hell of Mitzrayim, both from a physical point of view, it was very difficult, and also, as we know, from a spiritual point of view. The whole time we speak about a concept which is articulated even in the Rambam, that the Jewish people were on the brink of extinction. They were in Memtet Sharei Tumah, and at the last moment Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. So what is Moshe thinking when he's bringing his young children and his wife into the suffering when they're not even there? The Meshech Chochmah, as I say, explains that he wanted the Jewish people to. This was a type of sign. He wanted to indicate to the Jewish people that what's good for them is good for him. That he has got absolute confidence that the Egyptian bondage is coming to an end, and he's prepared to take his family, bring them into the fire of Mitzrayim, because within just a year or so, they're going to emerge into freedom. So this is his way of encouraging the Jewish people to have emunah and faith that things are now going to change after so many years of suffering. Yeah, he's prepared to now bring his family, and that's going to an indication that he's confident that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring the Geula. But let's just stop now for a moment. Okay, that explains now what his thinking was. He ultimately explains, he accepts Aaron's position. We don't know why he changed his mind. There's so much missing that we don't know. The message what I wanted to share was the following: that all the Mefarshim, they grapple with this following question. It comes out that according to the one opinion, that what happened, that all the events happening over here happened after Matan Torah, it comes out that this was an absolute tragedy. The entire Jewish people accepted the Torah, excepting 3 people. Can you imagine that? 3 people did not accept Matan Torah. And who were those three people? None other than the very person who was the instrument in accepting the Torah. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu. When we lift up the Torah and we all sing together, Bezot HaTorah, Shesam Moshe, Livnei Bnei Israel, we speak about Moshe as synonymous with the giving of the Torah. And if not Moshe, as the Rambam says, the Torah wouldn't have been given. And everything is the Torah, and it is always referred to as Torah Moshe. And here, lo and behold, the person who is now the receiver of the Torah, his own two children and his wife were the only Jews in the entire world that didn't accept the Torah. That is just pashut. It's unbelievable. And some of the Mefarshim say it's impossible. It's so jarring to them that they say, in fact, that there was two goings and sendings. But they found it like untenable, such a inyan. And they say, therefore, that this is the sequence of events was like this. Moshe Rabbeinu came with his family to Mitzrayim. He accepted Aaron's argument that it wasn't wise to put them into that danger. He sent them back to Midian. He called them back from Midian for Matan Torah, and then till they got organized, he organized everything after Matan Torah. So then what he did was he sent them back and brought them back another time. But I mean, that's a very, very forced, in a way, explanation. Excuse me, but the point that has been made is that Moshe Rabbeinu, at least according to one opinion in the Talmud, that says that all these events that happened at the beginning of Yitro happened after Matan Torah and not before. Yitro arrived after Matan Torah and not before Matan Torah. This reminds one, without getting too political, I don't want to even mention his name, but there was one of the editor and the editor and the owner of the Aretz newspaper. He's not known exactly for his okay, we'll leave it as that. But anyway, once he said, one of his disgusting remarks, he said that a young girl who was killed in Hebron, well, you know who's by terrorists who just shot at her. He said, you know who's to blame? To blame is not the Arab terrorist who shot her, but the Jew, the Mityashev, who is in the land of in Hebron, who is the first part of Eretz Israel, which was where Abraham Avinu lived. He is responsible. That father and mother are responsible for the death of the child because they brought the child up in a place of danger, quote unquote. But yeah, this opening of the Parsha, which so rattled the Mefarshim, they say, you know what, when you're overprotective of your kids, when you so want to look after them, you don't want them to, as Aaron said, why are you bringing them into this dangerous position? Isn't it enough that we've tried to get those who are already in danger out of Mitzrayim? A person pays the price. And what a terrible price it was. That because Moshe Rabbeinu sent his family back, they were the only ones who didn't participate in Matan Torah. Can you imagine such a tragedy? Can you imagine such a disappointment? So, as I say, these opening words of Matan Torah, that Yitro coming, and he comes with his family. So he comes to convert, and as we explained in the beginning, and the second part of this remark was that to be very, very careful. We have to be very careful of saving other people, of saving people, cushioning them, not only like our children, our family, but even a community, even Am Yisrael on the macro level, because when we're overprotective, when we're not prepared to do certain things with Mesirut Nefesh, so then the long-term results, ramifications, is that this terrible disappointment and tragedy it happened to Moshe Rabbeinu that his own children weren't mishtatev in the greatest event of human history, when God revealed himself to the Jewish people. And that won't happen in that way until the end of time, right? This is one of the great lessons that we learn from these very innocent psukim, so to speak, which are mentioned in the beginning of the parasha. Shabbat shalom lekulam.